The more you read and the more vocabulary you build. Trivialities are nothing but unimportant things. Don't throw light or don't give importance on unimportant things. So read the question set first and then come back to the paragraph. Do not think the correct option would come from outside the passage. Most of the people, they do this mistake. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, first grade college, the temple of excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, MYSURU. In today's session, I am going to discuss about one of the language components in third semester B.A, B.C.A, B.Com and B.B.A, that is reading comprehension. This is one of the language components in third semester English language. In today's session, I am not only going to discuss this topic from the examination point of view, even from the point of view of other competitive examinations, because this reading comprehension topic will not be just questioned in your third semester, and remember it has already been questioned in your first semester as well, but still it is being tested, questioned and asked even in your third semester. And remember my words, it will be even asked in one of the competitive examinations that you are going to appear. So kindly concentrate, kindly try to listen to what I tell you and make the notes if possible. So let us start with today's session. So what is reading comprehension according to you? I don't have to tell it. So reading comprehension andre henu, right? And as I tell you, as I have told you before, I will be speaking both in English and in Kannada. So ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ reading comprehension ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಯಾಕೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಸೆಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ಮೋರ್ ಓವರ್ ಈ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಯಾಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಪ್ರಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಸೆಮಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಇವಾಗ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಬರಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಇಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ, ಇಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಲ್ಲುತ್ತಾ? ನೋ, ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಮೈ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಈ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಈವನ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ಸ್, ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನೆನ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೆ ಆಶ್ವಾಸನೆ ಕೊಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಶ್ಯೂರ್ ಎನಿಬಡಿ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಗೋನಾ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಗೋನಾ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಯು ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ಅ ಜಾಬ್, ಬಟ್ I am sure that this tricks and tips that I am going to discuss in today's session will be useful somehow to an extent. So let us see first thing, reading comprehension. What is reading comprehension? You all know there will be a passage given and there will be question set asked about the passage you read and you have to answer them. But how do you answer? There are a lot of possibilities, a lot of things that you need to know. The possibility is that whether to read the passage first or the question set first, how to answer the questions, how to judge. Few students, they have an habit of reading the passage first. All those points, all those tricks and tips will be discussed in today's session. First thing, strategies. There are few strategies you need to follow. Very first strategy, previewing. What is this previewing or reviewing? Reviewing title section, headings and photo captions to get a sense of the structure and content of a reading selection. ನೀವು ಓದುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, whichever passage you read, there might be some photo captions, there might be some titles, section headings, or even apart from this, there might be subheadings as well. There are possibilities. In your examination, it will just be a simple comprehension or passage, which I'm going to discuss later. But in competitive exams, if you appear for IAS, if you appear for any other competitive exams, comprehending skill is tested. It is one of the mandatory rules these days, and it is one of the mandatory questions which will be tested in your competitive exams. And remember this, so in those competitive examinations, if it is online, of course there will be no images, no photo captions, but reviewing the titles or section headings will be one of the ideas you need to remember. They are going to give you the title headings. So based on the title, you might predict what is the topic all about or what is the passage all about. So based on that, you are going to even just predict the questions which could be asked. Right? So looking all these, istella nodi kuda, ನೀವು ಒಂದು photo caption na ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು titles ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, section headings ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಪರಿಗಣನೆಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ತಗೋತೀರಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಒಂದು ಫೋಟೋ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಷನ್ ನ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಫೋಟೋ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಓಕೆ ನಾನು ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ನ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಟೈಟಲ್ ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಯು ಮೈ ಗೆಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ. It is possible because at times the title itself will tell you what is the passage all about. You don't have to go in detail while reading. First thing, reviewing and predicting is the second one you need to follow. Second strategy. So using knowledge of the subject matter to make predictions about content and vocabulary and check comprehension. Using knowledge of the text type and purpose to make predictions about discourse and structure. Using knowledge about the author to make predictions about writing style, vocabulary and content. Try to remember, second one is predicting, and you are going to predict out of all those things I read now, or all these things I read, you are going to predict some questions, or you can just make predictions about the discourse or just the structure, or maybe in simple in passage. So what is that you are going to read? So passage, what is it all about? Is it about the factual passage? Is it about infatuation? Is it about fiction? Is it about imaginary passage? Is it about science and technology? There are a lot of genres you are going to study. It could be factual, fact, right? It could be imaginary passage as well. It could be a moral passage as well. It depends on you. How you read and how you extract the meaning. Reading comprehension. Comprehension, you should know the meaning of comprehension first. Comprehending skill is nothing but you are going to read a piece of page or a paragraph, right? And then you are going to understand, you are going to extract the meaning out of the passage you have read. You don't have to remember anything in particular. You don't have to memorize anything. Even that is one of the strategies you can follow. So about writing style, vocabulary, and even the content or the content, what we say. If you get to know about the passage and you know you have previously read or priorly you have read the passage and you know who is the author, if it is factual or it could be taken from any novel or any written piece, and then you know about his writing skill as well. So you can predict. Next one is skimming and scanning. This is one of the techniques which you need to follow. It is a must. What is skimming and scanning here? Scanning, you know, like you're just gonna keep a copy on it and a machine and you get a photocopy on the other end. That is not the scanning I'm talking about here. And skimming and scanning is reading as fast as you can, but still you're not going to skip any word or sentence and try to remember what you have read. It is nothing but fast reading. Just like if you remember the movie Robot, right? It is like, you know, where Rajinikanth robot version will just scan it. It's nothing but like scanning as fast as you can. Using a quick survey of the text to get the main idea, identify text structure, confirm or question predictions. So this is going to help you a lot when you are going to read the passage first. Try to remember, I'll tell you why I'm talking about reading passage first and then reading the question set first next, or maybe the question set first and then coming back to the passage. I will tell you both advantages and disadvantages. What happens when you read passage or when you read question set first. Next is guessing from the context. Using prior knowledge of the subject and the ideas in the text as clues to the meanings of unknown words instead of stopping to look them up. So you don't have to stop for the unknown words. You're not going to stop reading and think about the difficult words or the vocabulary. The text as the clues meaning of the unknown words. If you don't know the meaning of the difficult word, then you need not stop reading. Just refer it to the context and at least assume it, okay, this could be the possible meaning. And then continue reading. You don't have to take up the dictionary there and search for the meaning or think about the meaning. No need to waste time. Next is paraphrasing. Stopping at the end of the section to check comprehension by restating the information and ideas in the text. Why you have to stop at the section, at the end section? It's because it will give you an idea, the sense of just going back to the flash memory. Just like, within a fraction of a second, whatever you have read at the end of this section, to check comprehension by restating the information and ideas that you have read in the text. So it's just going to come in front of your eyes. Just going to pass in front of your eyes. Remember, the more you read, the more your vocabulary will grow. Try to remember this word and this sentence. The more you read and the more vocabulary you build. So that is the main strategy you need to follow. Next one, do's and don'ts. There are also some tips related to do's and don'ts. Why you should know about do's and don'ts, right? There are few things you're not supposed to do. There are few things you are supposed to do. You have to know this do's and don'ts. First one, do not overemphasize trivialities. Trivialities are nothing but unimportant things. Don't throw light or don't give importance on unimportant thing. Do not memorize. The second one is do not memorize. What happens when you memorize? You may remember just few content, not everything you read. In your examination, in the semester, the passage might be not more than 12 or 13 lines. But when you go to competitive examinations, it will be more than half a page at times, or maybe a full page at times. And is it the only passage you are going to read and solve? No. There are more than 4 or 5 paragraphs. There are more than 10 passages. So you may have to know how well to read it. You will get confused if you start memorizing with one another. In your examination, of course, it's going to help you. Third one, do not read the passage first. Why? It is very important not to read the passage first. Then what should you read? You have to read the question set first. Why am I emphasizing? Why am I telling it? It is important to read the question set first, not the paragraph. It's because, remember, just think about it. In your examination, there will be 15 lines paragraph. And there will be around 4 questions because it is for 4 marks. Yes, and there will be 4 questions. Prior to 2013 paper, there are 2 papers which I have gone through, and out of these 2 papers, one is for 5 marks and the other one is for 4 marks. And I'm sure in upcoming examination, in upcoming semester, you will be tested on this topic only for 4 marks, not for 5 marks. There are chances it is only for 4 marks, but to be on a safer side, let us be prepared for 5 marks. Let us assume there is a passage and there are 5 or 4 questions. What happens when you read the passage first? If you read the passage first, you will read from line 1, from word 1 till the last word, till the last line. And there are, as I told you, there are 13 to 15 lines. And then you go to question set. What happens? You read the first question, and if you are not able to find the answer in the first line, you may have to read the passage one more time. You read the second question, yes, and then you reread the passage for the second time. You read the third question and then you reread the passage for the third time. So in order to avoid rereading the passage plenty of times, or as many times as you read the questions, or as many times as there are questions, as there are 10 possibilities, there are 15, You can expect questions, more number of questions on the passage in your examination. Even it could be 4 at times. In your degree level, in your bachelor's degree level, the passage will be too simple, direct question. But as you go further, it gets complicated. There will be no direct questions. You have to upgrade yourself. So what do you do at that point of time? You will definitely waste time reading the passage, reading the question, reading the passage, reading the question. So in order to avoid this, instead of reading the passage first, what we suggest you is read the question first. Arey sir, how are we going to read the question first without knowing the passage? Yes, it works. Let us assume there are 4 questions. You will read the question set first. I'm sure you can remember at least 2 to 3 questions minimum out of 5 questions or 4 questions you read. Let us say it is even 2, right? And once you read the question and go back to the comprehension, reading comprehension or passage. Once you come back to the passage, you start reading. So right in the middle or right from the beginning, you will get the answer because you have stored it in your mind, not memorized. Somewhere in the corner of your mind, it will be stored, the question you read. So immediately you write the answer. Second question, immediately you write the answer. While reading the passage, continuing the passage, once you get answer for the first 2 questions, what you have to do, don't start or don't continue reading the passage. Come back to the question set first. And then read 4th or 3rd and 4th question and then go back to the passage. I'm sure this will work and it is also time saving. I'm telling you, in your competitive examinations, in the competitive examination, it is going to save you at least 10 to 15 minutes of time if you are going to attempt at least 4 or 5 comprehension. So you have to read the question set first, not the passage. 4th one, do not overemphasize on vocabulary skills of RCs. RCs are nothing but reading comprehensions. So vocabulary, do you have to know the meaning of each and every word you read? ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ಓದ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ, ಆ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಪದಗಳ ಅರ್ಥ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕಾ? ಸೊ ಈ 3 ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಅನ್ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಗೆ, ಅನ್ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಥಿಂಗು, ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಓದಿರೋದನ್ನ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ. ಇನ್ ಅ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೆಮೊರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ, ಮಗ್ಗಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ, ಗಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಓದ್ಬೇಡಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಓದ್ಬಾರ್ದು? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ನ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸೆಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ. ಅದ್ರ ಬದಲು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ 1-2 ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ನಿಮ್ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ನೀವು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ನ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸಿಕ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್, ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಈಸಿ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವರು ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಕೊನೆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಮಿಕ್ಕ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋದಾಗ ಟೈಮ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಈ 4 ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ಗೆ 2 ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಾಕು. 2 ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದ್ರು ಈ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು 2 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿ 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ನ ತಗೋಬಹುದು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಪದಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಪದದ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನ ನೀವು ತುಂಬಾ ಗಾಢವಾಗಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪದದ ಅರ್ಥ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನೋವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ವರಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್. ಸೊ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿ ಯು ರಿಲೇಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆನ್. 5th one, do not spend time on reading comprehensions. RCs are nothing but reading comprehensions that you cannot comprehend at first. This is very important when it comes to competitive examinations. As I am telling you, you may have to face at least 4 to 5 comprehending passages. ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜಸ್ ಯು ರೀಡ್ ಇನ್ ಯೋರ್ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ಸ್, one of the passages would be very difficult to comprehend in your competitive exams, I'm telling you. So what do you have to do? Leave it, keep it to the last, so that you can just give time for rest of the comprehensions. ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, 4-5 ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ತಲೆ ತಿಂತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಓದಿರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥನ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು, ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸೆಟ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ತುಂಬಾ ತಲೆ ತಿಂತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬಾ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ, ಸ್ಕಿಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಗೇನ್. Next one, do not think the correct option would come from outside the passage. Most of the people, they do this mistake. Once they ask the question, if it is such question is asked in your examination, you don't have to think that answer would be coming outside the paragraph or the passage. Answer ಹೊರಗಿನಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಏನ್ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು 15 ಲೈನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, 20 ಲೈನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಯಾವ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಮೇನ್ ಇಂದ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ. ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಎನಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ the passage. The answer will be lying in the passage itself, within the passage. Do not rely on trigger words. What is this trigger words? Do not rely. Don'ts. ಯಾಕೆ ಟ್ರಿಗರ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಗೆ ರಿಲೇ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪದಗಳನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪದನೇ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪದನ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು, ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಓದೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ರೀಡ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಸೂನ್ ಆಸ್ ಯು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್. So what happens, thinking about it or reading about it, you might presume or assume that, okay, this is the passage all about. Don't predict on trigger words. Make notes. Do you have to make notes while you are writing your examination or semester examinations in your graduation or undergraduation? You don't have to make notes. But in the competitive examinations, I'm telling you, making notes is very important. As I told you in the beginning of the session, I am not only going to discuss this topic from the examination point of view, also from the point of view of other competitive examination. This is going to help you for sure. So how do you make notes? Short notes, you may read, let us say there will be a lot of names, lot of years, lot of characters you get to see, lot of places. So how do you remember all this? You can just make a note of characters, places, incidents, years. So it will help you while making short notes. Try to preempt questions. In the sense, few students, this is a must for those students who read the passage first. I have already told you, sir, should we read the questions at first? Yes, I say it is a must. But even then, few students, they want to go and read. They want to take up this passage reading first. So those students, while reading the passage, you can preempt, just think about it. Okay, while reading the sentence, you find it really interesting, you find it really important, then you can just assume, okay, maybe on this topic, I can expect a question. Predicting a question. 10th one, opening and closing paragraphs require extra focus. It's because in the opening paragraph and in the closing paragraphs, they are going to talk about a lot of topics, lot of important topics. It might be, let us say, opening paragraph would give you an idea about what the passage is all about, and the ending paragraph would give you an idea about the author's viewpoint, or it could be some suggestion, it could be some provocative, thought-provoking ideas, right? There are a lot of things which will be discussed maybe in the opening and in the closing paragraphs as well. So you may have to give extra attention. Maybe not in your semester, but in the future, if you are going to take up any competitive examinations, in the competitive examinations, general aptitude paper, definitely I'm telling you, it is an open challenge. Most of the competitive examinations, they will test your comprehending skills for sure. This is guaranteed. If you have heard about KPSC, Karnataka Public Service Commission, and UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, these two commissions are going to definitely test your comprehending skills. KAS officers, IAS officers, IPS officers, Indian Foreign Service officers, all these people, they have just attempted one of the comprehension passages or maybe more, and then they have got the job. So you may have to fall under that category to face this language component and then move on. Kindly note this point. Next, this was the question asked in 2019, October and November 2019, third semester, BA, BCA and BCom. So try to apply the rule. What did I tell you? You have to apply the rule of reading the question set first and then coming back to the paragraph. Let us go to question set and then come back to paragraph. Let us apply the rule I have discussed. And let us see if we can solve it within stipulated time. Who was Abraham Lincoln? I am going to read all the 4 questions. Why couldn't Abraham continue his education? Third one, who taught him to read and write? Fourth, when did Abraham lose his mother? The first question, who is Abraham Lincoln and why couldn't Abraham continue his education? I'm sure you can remember these 2 questions. If you can remember all the 4 questions, it is well and good. Let us come back to the passage. First question, remember, who was Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States of America. He was born on February 12th, 1809. When he was 9 years old, his mother died. So we have already got the answer for the first 2 questions. So what is the first question? Who was Abraham Lincoln? He is the 16th President, right? President of America, USA. And why couldn't Abraham continue his education? Still we haven't got. But I think when did Abraham lose his mother? We have already got the answer. When he was 9 years old, his mother died. So we have already got at the age of 9. Or when he was 9 years old is also fine. Still 2 more questions left. Why couldn't Abraham continue his education and who taught him to read and write? Let us see the answer for this. Then his father married another woman named Sarah Bush Johnson. She was very good to Abraham. She taught him at home to read and write. We have already got the answer for the third question. It is Sarah Bush Johnson is the lady, the second mother, the stepmother. She is the one who taught him to read and write. So only one question is remaining. Why couldn't Abraham continue his education? Abraham went to school for a very short time. He needed to stay at home and help his father on the farm. He read every book he could find. He loved to learn new things. He soon became an important person by getting elected as the president of USA. So he had to stay at home and help his father. That is the right answer why Abraham couldn't continue his education. He had to stay at his home and he had to help his father. That was the reason. Try to think what would happen if you read the passage first and then you try to read the question set. Let us do that trick as well. Let us apply that rule as well. Let us see that. Abraham Lincoln, just assume I'm reading it as if I have not read it before. I have not read it. I'm reading it for the first time. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States of America. He was born on February 12, 1809. When he was 9 years old, his mother died. Then his father married another woman named Sarah Bush Johnson. She was very good to Abraham. She taught him at home to read and write. Abraham went to school for a very short time. He needed to stay at home and help his father on the farm. He read every book he could find. He loved to learn new things. He soon became an important person by getting elected as the president of USA. So you have read it. I have read it and you are going to read it in your examination. And what happens is you go to the first question. Who was Abraham Lincoln? I'm just telling you what happens when you apply the rule of reading the comprehension first or passage first. So who was Abraham Lincoln? Now you read, whatever you have read, you have forgotten. I know you're able to recall, able to remember since we have already discussed it, but take up a new paragraph. It is a challenge. Take up a new paragraph or passage. Read it for the first time and then come back to the question set. You will forget what you have read. It happens. So you may have to turn the page and then start reading again. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States of America. You read, go back to that, you write the answer, then come back and read. Why couldn't Abraham continue his education? You keep reading, okay? So you have this answer maybe in between, maybe after half of the paragraph. So you may have to read till here. So you read and you write the answer. Next, what happens, according to the question set, who taught him to read and write? You come back and you think that the answer will be lying in these 3 lines or 4 lines. So you start reading because you have forgotten it. Those who can remember, they will of course write. But what about the students who are struggling to remember? You might have to reread it, the whole thing. It is not going to work. So that is the reason why we tell you to read the question set first and then come back to the paragraph. ನಾನು ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ನೀವು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಒಮ್ಮೆ ನೀವು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಓದಿದಾಗ ಇರೋ 4 ಅಥವಾ 5 ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ಇನಫ್. ನೀವು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಫಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. 2 ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಓದ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಓದಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ, ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಓದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಓದಬೇಕು, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಟೈಮ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದಂಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಬೇರೆ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಪೋಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ನಾವೆಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಟೈಮ್ ಹಿಡಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ, ರೀಡ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ರೂಲ್, ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ಮೀ. ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರೂಲ್. ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಲಿಂಕನ್ ಅಂತ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹುಡುಗರು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಬ್ರಿಲಿಯಂಟ್. ಸರ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕ್ತಾನೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್. ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸಿಕ್ತಲ್ಲ, ನೀವೇ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಿ, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕರೆಯೋದು ಅದನ್ನ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಹೇಗೆ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಅನ್ನೇ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಲಿಂಕನ್? ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಲಿಂಕನ್ ವಾಸ್ 16th president ಆಫ್ ದ ಯುನೈಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾ, USA. ಇನಫ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. 16th president ಆಫ್ USA ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ಇನಫ್. ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸೇ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಹೂ ಟಾಟ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಟು ರೀಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೈಟ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೇರಾ ಬುಷ್ ಜಾನ್ಸನ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದಿಷ್ಟನ್ನ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಕು. ನೀವು ಕೆಲವರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, when he was 9 years old his mother died, then his father married another woman named Sarah Bush Johnson. She was very good to Abraham. She taught him at home to read and write. ಇಷ್ಟು ಕೂಡ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಯಲ್ಲ. It is not called comprehension. Second rule is, don't write the whole paragraph or the answers which are not related to the question. Then you are not liable to get 1 mark. You have to be very precise while writing the answers in comprehension. That is the reason why we call it comprehension. Comprehension ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ತಗೋತೀರಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ಬರೀತೀರಾ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ನ ಬರೀತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ this reading comprehension or comprehension. I'm sure I have given plenty of examples, and that is it in today's session. I'm going to meet you in my next session. In my next session, I'm going to talk about active and passive voice. So before you watch my video, kindly know what is active and passive voice. There are plenty of rules you should know. Prior to knowing active and passive voice, you should know what are tenses. Tenses ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. This is one of the essential grammatical contents everyone should know in English. Tenses or knowing tenses is a must. So before we land up in problem, before we land up in confusion, it is better to watch or learn or take up some topics, some books, Renan Martin, any grammatical books. Try to know the tenses, take help from internet. I can also help you out later, but before that, try to understand what are tenses. And once you understand tenses, it is going to be very easy for you to understand active and passive voice. I am going to meet you in my next session. Until then, keep practicing. Have a good day. Take care.